New developments which are unfolding today. I'm Jared Dillingham along with Morgan Lowe, and we're going to check in with our true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney and our Vanessa Ariza here in just a moment. They're live continuing their reporting down in Tucson.
Yeah, the headline today is another communication, another note, electronic note from somebody claiming to be the person who took Nancy Guthrie. Our sister station in Tucson got a copy of this. It was sent to them. They did not reveal the contents of it. They turned it over to the Pima County Sheriff's Office or the FBI, who are analyzing it. But there are a couple of things that we can reveal about it. I think Brianna is going to get into the details about that, but that is a significant development today. What we can tell you is we still don't know where she is.
Right, and there's no proof of life in this letter that was sent or this email that was sent as they try to still figure out if these notes that have been sent are real or if they are perhaps just a cruel hoax. Let's check in with our true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney live for us in Tucson to walk us through what we are able to reveal about this latest note that came into the family.
Yeah, and it's been in the last hour that we've learned we can reveal a little bit more. Jared, you mentioned it. There is no proof of life in this new note, but there's also no additional ransom demand, and there's also no way for the kidnapper to communicate with the Guthrie family. There was no way for the Guthries to reach back out. So those are three new details we're able to report at this hour, but it is exceptionally concerning when you know that we are still searching for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. This is day 6 of searching for her. We know she has medical needs, and of course at this time, even if there are new alleged notes coming in, we still have no idea where Nancy is. I want to show you guys what the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI are saying tonight together about this new alleged note coming in. They wrote, quote, "The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department are aware of a new message regarding Nancy Guthrie. Investigators are actively inspecting the new information provided in the message for its authenticity." And I can tell you guys, I got off the phone with the FBI not too long ago. We knew from yesterday's press conference that the Sheriff's Department has done a lot of the crime scene investigation itself, receiving leads and following up on those. The FBI can provide a lot of behind-the-scenes help. We knew they were going through Nancy Guthrie's cell phone. We knew that they were looking for location data and conducting interviews. But a huge part of what the FBI has been working on has been the alleged ransom note that came in several days ago. That was kind of their lead. They are now taking the lead on this note, this second note that has come in as well. Earlier today, our sister station KOLD, the ones who received this note, were here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Right before we got here, Sheriff Nanos, Chris Nanos, was out here earlier, and as they were getting in new information, they were able to ask him if he wanted to comment on it.
No, not at all. It's again given to the FBI. They've got this, and we'll let them go.
Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
So the sheriff not saying a whole lot about it tonight, except for that public statement the two of them put out. And when I talked to the public information officer, the media correspondent here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department, they said that sheriff's not doing any other interviews about it tonight, and they will only hold a press conference if there is breaking news to report. So it kind of remains to be seen what they consider breaking news. Are they going to be able to report more that is in this alleged second note coming from the kidnapper or abductors of Nancy Guthrie, or are they waiting for something else? We know they're investigating out at the house. I know our Vanessa Ariza is going to get into that coming up here. But let's talk a little bit more about what we know in this note. We know it went to our sister station, KOLD. It was this morning. We are choosing not to release other details out of respect for the family and as this investigation continues. Now, like I said earlier, the new note did not contain any new additional ransom demands or a way for the Guthrie family to communicate with the sender of it. We sent the IP address where the note came from to law enforcement, and we have to note it is not the same IP address as that first ransom note that came in, but it appears the sender used the same type of secure server to hide their IP address. The new note also contains something the senders think will prove to investigators that they are the same people who sent the first note. So that's what we can at least reveal at this hour about that second note. Of course, a very precarious situation because the Sheriff's Department, the FBI, they want tips to come in. They want people to weigh in to bring anything to their attention that could possibly aid in this investigation. But they also have to be extremely careful here because, one, they don't want information to get out that could compromise their investigation. Two, we have no idea if any of these notes are legitimate. They had not figured that out, and that's one thing that I think is very interesting tonight. The deadlines, there was 2 of them on that first note. One of them was last night, 5 p.m. That is already passed. But the second deadline, the FBI had told us, was on Monday. So it is an interesting timeline now that we've received a alleged new note on Friday in between the 2 deadlines from the first one. And this only complicates what the FBI is going to have to figure out on the legitimacy of all of these notes and whether they all come together potentially from the same sender. Outside here at the Pima County Sheriff's Department, Senator Mark Kelly was here as well, and he was able to also talk to media about this. You know, he calls Tucson home. He knows Savannah Guthrie personally. He's done many interviews with her, but he's also known her for many years, and he even commented earlier tonight that Savannah was reporting when Gabby Giffords, Mark's wife, was shot here in Tucson 15 years ago. And so there is a connection there between the two. And Senator Kelly explained to our cameras earlier tonight how he found out that Nancy Guthrie was missing.
Well, I first learned of it, before it was public. Savannah called me, because she knows I live here. And then I called the sheriff, and I called the Tucson police chief. So that was... that was mid-afternoon on Sunday, and Savannah was on the way to the airport to fly here, and obviously rather upset. So I've been doing whatever I can do.
And obviously the detectives working on this case, working round the clock, quite literally 24/7 on this. Mark Kelly was also asked about the investigation itself. He says he has full confidence in the team that's working on it. Take a listen.
The sheriff's been doing a great job. I was in contact with him last Sunday about this. He has hundreds of his deputies investigating this case, working 24/7, on this. If this case can be solved between the sheriff and the FBI, I've got tremendous confidence that they'll be able to figure this out and bring her home.
And again, I talked to the FBI earlier today. They're part of all of this. They are part of this big investigation. They said that, they don't expect to release any more today, but they don't know, and they will keep everybody updated. The way that they're communicating most quickly with people is getting posts out on their social media pages, particularly Twitter or X and Facebook. That is how they are quickly communicating with the public as much as they can. But I think, just a sense of, I've been here now most of the days this week, and I think what's so frustrating and heartbreaking to this whole situation as we go is it's like we're getting little breadcrumbs each day, something new. There might be a new note. We might learn a little bit more. Okay, we have a timeline now that we know. We have little bits and pieces, but not one new piece of information that we have learned has said anything more about where Nancy Guthrie is right now. And that is really difficult when you're talking about, okay, this is all great information, we're moving forward, but are we any closer to finding Nancy? And that is the troubling part of all of this tonight, you guys.
Yeah, Brianne, I've got a quick question for you. Earlier this week, the FBI was able to identify a copycat, figure out who that person was, and take them into custody, immediately. Do you think the fact that they have not been able to trace these communications back is any kind of indication that this might be a more sophisticated operator, the person or persons who sent these communications?
I mean, I definitely believe so. I think the arrest that they were able to make of that California man who put out that imposter ransom note just goes to show they have the means and resources to be able to track down things very quickly. But I think whoever is sending these has sent them through this encrypted server where you cannot trace this IP address back and cannot trace exactly where it's coming from. So whoever is sending these, whether they are the abductor of Nancy Guthrie or not, knows what they are doing, and it's exceptionally troubling either way. It's either the person who did this to Nancy, or it's a person who has a sick hoax that they are doing among all of this for some awful reason. So neither answer is good, but I think now the big question that's left for investigators, one, prove this authenticity, whether it is or isn't, but two, what do you do now? Even if you prove it's authentic, there's no way to communicate with the sender. There's no additional requests. There was no proof of life. Where do you go from here with those? And is it just, we just keep searching for her? I mean, I know they're back at the house tonight and trying to find new evidence, or at least, you know, re-go over everything and follow up. Did they miss anything? They don't want to leave any stone unturned. But at the end of the day, we just don't seem any closer, and the mystery continues to deepen, especially with this newest note. My wonder now is, what is the Guthrie family going to do next? Are they going to release a video statement about this new note? Are they going to stay quiet? I know they are obviously working with investigators, so what will their next move be? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, it seems like they're taking a lot of advice from the FBI, which is eager to offer it to them. God, what a week they've had. Brianna, you mentioned no verification of the ransom note. There's no person of interest. There's no suspect. There's no videos that we know of. They're up against so many challenges in terms of evidence in the investigation. Where does it go? Is this going to have to hinge on digital evidence or perhaps some piece of DNA? Because they said the one test that came back was the blood test, which tested positive for Nancy on the front porch. Were they, do you know, able to extract anything else from that home? Are tests, DNA tests, still underway?
Yeah, I think the answer to your question is possibly both. You know, they're working on surveillance video. We know earlier tonight that there were investigators up on Nancy Guthrie's roof. Perhaps they found something up there that could help lead to something. I don't know if there's other recording devices, but clearly they're up there investigating for a reason. You have to hope that they'll be able to retrieve some of the video. I know they put out yesterday that she didn't have a subscription service for her Google Nest. That was that camera on the front of the door that's no longer there. And so that didn't save video. You have to hope that these companies are able to retrieve things somehow, especially in an investigation like this. But also, yeah, the old school evidence, blood, DNA, you send it to the lab and you get the results back. I mean, that could definitely still yield something. We know that they rush ordered that blood that was on the front porch. It came back positive to Nancy. And it's an interesting piece of evidence because, you know, it was significant in terms of, you look at it, you know it's blood. Immediately when I saw it with my own eyes, I knew that was blood. And you're like, okay, that shouldn't be there. But it wasn't an overwhelming amount where somebody would have bled out. And so I think they were trying to figure out there, you know, what did happen on that front porch. We know Nancy bled in some way, but how? Was that from being hit? Was that from something, you know, different? We don't know that answer. We just know that somehow she was injured and bleeding and on that front porch. But they also sent other things to the DNA lab up in Phoenix, and that was also part of this. Their rapid DNA lab in Tucson was broken. The sheriff told me that early in this week. And so they sent that up to Phoenix, but it was the blood that was rapid ordered. That came back, and that, you know, I guess proved conclusive for Nancy, but nobody else. You have to imagine they have other pieces of evidence, other items that are being DNA tested up in the lab right now. Those could take several more days to come back. And so I think we're waiting on that. We also know they took out new evidence as recently as Wednesday. We'll see what happens today now that they're back out there. But you have to imagine that those pieces, new pieces of evidence, are also being tested in some form or fashion. And that could come back as early as this weekend or sometime next week.
Yeah, that's one of the things I just cannot wrap my head around, is why, if indeed someone did abduct this 84-year-old woman for ransom, why is she bleeding? Why is she injured? Why didn't they take her? Why was she hurt and bleeding on the front porch? It's one of the so many things that just does not make sense in this case. All right, Brianna, stick around. We have a couple more questions for you about a couple other issues here in just a moment. After this break, we're going to head over to the Pima County Sheriff's Office, where over to the Guthrie home, which is where Vanessa Ariza is standing by. We'll be right back. Interest in this ongoing mystery, this mysterious disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, who authorities believe was abducted out of her home in Tucson, in kind of a rural community just on the city's north side, 1 week ago Saturday.
Yeah, so we are going to head back out to the Tucson area, to the Catalina foothills, where our Vanessa Ariza has spent the day out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home in that neighborhood. Vanessa, what did you see out there today, and what's the mood tonight?
Yes, good evening to you guys. You know, throughout the day, we have seen residents coming and going, walking their dogs in this area. And if it weren't for the media and the vehicles from the media that were here, this would be like any other Friday afternoon. Clearly, that is far from the truth. But as it stands now, as the sun has set, some of the media has left. But sheriff's deputies, they remain here blocking part of the road that leads to Nancy Guthrie's home. As this investigation started about a week ago, news crews were able to get very close to the home, at some points walking on the front door after investigators had cleared the home and the area and allowed people to get closer. But as you see now, this is as far as we can get. And where we're standing right now, it is about a 3-minute walk to Nancy Guthrie's home. I want to give you another view that one of our drones was able to catch earlier this afternoon as investigators are now back at the scene here. Investigators were seen on top of the roof, kind of searching in the backyard around the pool area. It's unknown what they are searching for, but it is very important to note that they did clear her home earlier this week, only to be back there once again this afternoon. So it's a lot of questions still being raised right now as far as what are they looking for and why did they deem it necessary to go back out to that home. Now, the sheriff's office and Sheriff Cristianos did not hold a press conference today. The last one where we heard from him, as well as the FBI special agent from the Phoenix area, was during yesterday's press conference. And it was during that press conference that Sheriff Nanos was asked, why did you clear the home only to go back there? And he had stated, hey, look, we got the FBI. They are coming in and they wanted to take another look at this scene. He was also asked, are you fearful and are you in a sense playing Monday morning quarterback that you possibly cleared that home too soon? And he said, possibly. You never know. But we are trying to get as much of any extra information that we can in this case. As you said, Jared, this is a very high profile case. So many eyes that are on it right now.
Yeah, Vanessa, I've got a quick question for you. We've learned that the FBI and the sheriff's deputies are going to be back out in that neighborhood, combing the desert area, combing the neighborhood over the weekend. I am assuming that if Nancy Guthrie was out there, is out there, they would have found her. What else could they be looking for by going door to door, by looking on the ground and sending their deputies and agents out there this weekend?
Sure. I think that there's this old adage. I don't want to speak for them clearly, but I would imagine that there's this old adage that, you know, maybe we missed something. Maybe we didn't see something that we did prior, or maybe there are residents whose homes they are going to where the person who's living there said, oh, I forgot about this. I forgot about that. And I should have told you this. And I say that because we heard from Senator Mark Kelly earlier today, who's reiterating what authorities, law enforcement have been saying for the past 6 days. No detail is too small. So perhaps, and there's no harm in going back to the homes and going back towards the path that law enforcement has already gone over to say, hey, maybe we did miss something. Maybe there is something that a resident saw, but they didn't think to tell us until now. And it goes back to that old adage, if you see something, say something. You know, it is cliche, but it is cliche for a reason. And that is so much hope that is out there that there are new keys and developments to this case.
Vanessa, just really quickly, I know there's a lot of desert brush between your position and the Guthrie home behind you, but were you able to see anything in there? Like, was there a helicopter above? Were there canines in there? Were they searching the desert areas around the homes? Or were they going door to door knocking today? What were you able to see, if anything?
So not much, unfortunately, because they do have us pushed back. I know it's only a 3-minute walk back to Nancy Guthrie's home, but because of the terrain out here, you can't really see much. I did climb up one of the hill areas here just a little bit, and really all you could really see in the distance were deputies and law enforcement agents who were talking amongst themselves. We did not see any choppers up in the air. We did see drones. There were 3 drones from different various media outlets outlets out here. And from the few vehicles, I would say only a handful of what appeared to be law enforcement vehicles coming and going here. Did not see any canines there, did not see any deputies who were walking out this area. So nothing really that kind of stood out other than the typical scenes that we usually see during investigations when the media is out here.
Right, and you said it earlier, without those flashing lights behind you, you could see it's just pitch black in that Catalina Foothills neighborhood, which I think is one of the perks of living in such a beautiful place. You don't have city light pollution, but that is one of the challenges they are up against in this investigation. Vanessa Ariza live for us tonight on the north side of Tucson. Stay with us. We're going to head back over to the Pima County Sheriff's Office after this.
Welcome back to this special True Crime Arizona stream. We are talking about the search for Nancy Guthrie. We're going to send it back down to the Pima County Sheriff's Department in Tucson, where Brianna Whitney, our true crime correspondent, is. Brianna, I know you've spoken to a lot of experts when it comes to finding people and dealing with these sort of hostage negotiation situations. We know that there was a deadline for a ransom allegedly yesterday, and potentially another one on Monday. How critical is it right now, the next couple of days, what's going on behind the scenes to try to see if there's any way to get Nancy back that way, to try to make sure that that goes well?
I mean, I think when I was talking to FBI Supervisory Special Agent Lance Lysing last night, and he's really familiar with this, he said, you know, obviously time is of the essence, but he found it so bizarre that the first ransom note or alleged ransom note had two different deadlines. That is odd. And so what the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department needs to do in these coming days, and I'm certain they're doing this, but what for our public viewership standpoint, what is likely happening and what they need to do behind the scenes is they need to figure out if these notes are even legit. And I think until we get to that point, that's kind of a priority in this, because if they are legit, they need to be paying close attention to the details that are in these notes to try to find any clues as to where they could possibly locate Nancy Guthrie. And I think that once they are able to rule in or out whether these are credible, that's going to really determine what happens in this investigation next. My thought process is that by Monday evening, they should know whether or not these are credible. And that's coming straight from the FBI, because when I asked the FBI special agent in charge about this yesterday, he said, because my question was, how do you deem whether these are credible? Like, at what point do you stop and say, these aren't true, these aren't factual, these aren't credible? And he said they're working off of those deadlines. We know this new note today did not have an additional ransom deadline. It had no proof of life, and it had no way for the Guthrie family to communicate with the sender. So they have to still be operating off of those two deadlines in the first note as well. 5 p.m. yesterday, that's done. Monday, we now need to find out. We don't know exactly what time that deadline is, but assumably, if that passes and there's no other contact with the sender, and there's no additional details as to where Nancy Guthrie is, then they have to then determine if these are legit or not and where they go next in the investigation. I believe that they are searching for more evidence as well. I mean, we can tell they're back at that house. They are combing through that multiple different days after they had processed that scene and told us they were done with it. So clearly they're still looking for a lot of other evidence that could particularly lead to some other lead outside of just these notes. But I think in the next couple days, it's crucial to figure out, you know, are these true? Are these legit? And how much credence do you put into those in terms of where you could possibly find Nancy Guthrie? I think from the media standpoint and from the public standpoint, we should learn more by Monday evening, knowing that that ransom note originally had that as the second and final deadline that we know of.
I've just been trying to compare this to anything else. This is so unusual, Brianna, and the only things I can compare it to that I could think of is the case in Phoenix, the two young high school students who were killed while they were camping up toward Payson last year. That was a mystery for so long, and eventually some cell phone technology and witness interviews led to the suspect there. And Brianna, the other case I could think of is Elizabeth Smart, who I know you recently interviewed, and she vanished for, I think, 9 months before she was found safe. This is so unusual, I can't think of anything else to even compare it to.
The only other thing that I can think of would be JonBenet Ramsey. There was that alleged ransom note that was left on the stairs and in the house. Of course, she wasn't abducted. They found her body in the home, but I mean, that's the only other time that I can think of a ransom note like this where they're trying to figure out if it's credible or not. And that case is still unsolved, and they never figured it out. So yeah, it is very disheartening. Elizabeth Smart, and we just talked to her a couple months ago. I mean, she's so lucky that she was able to be found alive. But yeah, I mean, that's another abduction. And I also feel like, too, when we're talking abductions, I think people's minds typically go to children. Like children being taken, Amber Alerts, abduction, kidnapping. I mean, kid is in that title. So I don't think people think that an 84-year-old woman is going to be abducted and held for ransom. I mean, that is just completely outside the realm of things that we typically deal with in this business. And my God, we have seen so much in this business, in crime and everything like that, and it can be really tough. This has to be one of, if not the most bizarre case that I have ever seen.
Brianna, I know the family didn't get what they wanted with this last communication, which is they didn't get proof of life. They didn't get a way to communicate with these alleged kidnappers. It is important to point out that every communication that they get from somebody who might have done this is a new opportunity for investigators to trace that communication. So it might have seemed like this was bad news today because they didn't get what they wanted, but it is an opportunity.
It's something else to go off of, and I think we now wait to find out what the Guthrie family is going to do next. Are they going to release a statement? Are they going to release a new video? And that's something that we'll be paying attention to.
Yeah, Cameron Guthrie in that statement last night said, "We want to talk to you. We are waiting for contact." They got that contact today, though it's extremely unsatisfying to say the least. Gosh, well, Nancy Guthrie last seen alive, 9:48 p.m. Saturday, last Saturday. Here we are a week into this, and still so many unknowns. Stay with Arizona's family. You could sign up to get push alerts sent to your phone if you have our AZ Family News app. We will send out alerts as soon as we hear anything from the FBI or the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and as soon as they hold their next live briefing, we'll be sure to let you know so